Hey everybody, how you doing? It's been a long time since I've made a video, but it's a pretty ugly day around here. I was looking at some stock charts, so I figured why not? So I'll go through a couple index charts, and then I wanted to share some of the names from my watch list that I'm watching for next week. So this is the SPY S&P 500 Index ETF. I posted this chart yesterday, and basically what I see here is we're just stuck in this range here. This 280 level has acted as resistance going back all these times, kind of turned support here, and then we have this ceiling up here, this 293-ish area. The prices hit that back last fall and then again recently, and price got rejected there. So we're right in between these two areas. So I think a break in either direction from these areas could be telling what happens in the market in the coming months. If you look at the Dow, here's the DIA, similar. We have this a similar kind of trading range here, and even small caps are in a range, although they didn't retest those old highs, not even close, really. So a little bit of relative weakness in small caps, but again, we're stuck in this range here. This is IWM, between 160, 145-ish. You could see that area act as support all these times over here. So if we test that area, we'll see if it acts as support again, or we'll see if we can break through this 160 area ceiling. So a little bit of indecision here in the indexes. Obviously, across the world, there's some things that don't look as good as the U.S. markets. Here's EEM, emerging markets, just had a terrible 2 weeks, really. I was getting pretty bullish here. They broke above this level I was watching here around 40, 43-ish. I thought they were going to make a nice run, and then they kind of got clobbered here, and then last week put in a really ugly week. So we'll see. This line here in EEM goes back almost a decade to support. I'll zoom out here. You could see it hit this all these times. That's the $37 level, acted as support all this time. So if we come back to retest that, we'll see if that happens again. Time will tell. But for now, emerging markets were an area that I was really liking, was pretty bullish on. But now it's just kind of wait and see what happens there. But the big story here is the U.S. indexes in these ranges and how this is going to resolve. Unfortunately, it's easy to get impatient sometimes, but it might take a while. You just don't know. I don't know. So we'll see. But in the meantime, there's still some stocks that are setting up pretty good. So I'll go through a lot of long ideas I'm watching on my watch list. First, let's start Zen. These software stocks continue to be super hot. They held up pretty well while the market went down, and a lot of them are setting up again. I like this one because many of the names here are starting to get a bit extended for me. I don't like to buy something if it's more than 3 or 4% over where my stop would be. But Zen is one. It's just kind of consolidating this nice tight consolidation, bumping up against this 88, $90 level. So I'm just kind of watching this one to see if we can get a breakout above it. Just kind of being patient and watching it. But I do like this one. Longer term uptrend, obviously. So if we can start showing some strength here in Zen, it might be a good one to get in to consider. You can put your stop slightly below the current price, or if you give it a little bit of room, maybe below that range from the lows from last week. General Mills, this is one I bought last week. I like this one a lot. Defensive stock. Now it's holding above this 52 level. You could see it hit resistance there and there. Now it broke above it that was last Wednesday. Kind of came back to retest it, and Friday had a nice day, closed above it. So I'm long this one. I actually bought it. You can see this other line here as it broke out of that area there. I bought it there, so I'm up slightly in it. My stop would be, around 50. I think I'm around $51 or so. But I like the way this is setting up. Nice kind of flat base. So if it could start working up off of that, could provide a nice entry with a stop slightly below. So that's one I like there. Cliff, this is one I've been watching for the last week or so. Not ready yet, but you can see, it had this nice move here at the beginning of January. It's just kind of been slowly giving those gains back in a somewhat orderly fashion. So I'm kind of waiting it to break out of this downtrend line, the consolidation, to kind of show a change of character that it might be ready to buy. Specifically, if it gets over, 1030, 1040, that'd be the horizontal level. I'd look to potentially enter this one with a stop probably below Friday's lows, looks like, or the place where I set my stop. It's also got that white dotted line there. That's the 200-day. So if it can get above that and stay above that, that would be a bullish sign. So that's CLF. LII is one I've been watching closely. I like this one, kind of similar to GIS, just a nice like flat base here, right around 277 or so. It's bumped up against that area quite a few times, so if it can show it wants to push through that, I think it makes a really nice entry here. Again, it just depends on your time frame and position size and things like that. But I'd probably put my stop, maybe around maybe there's that 50-day there, a little bit under last week's lows, 265 or so. Would be a nice risk reward potential there in this one here in LII. I like that one quite a bit. YNDX. This is when I was watching. I held off. I think they reported their earnings not too long ago. Maybe it's been a while now, but in any case, um, I was watching this for a while and I held off. But this $36 level here, you can see it acted as resistance here, finally broke above it, found support, and then it went below it. I had never entered the trade, so I kind of took it off my watch list as it broke below that area. But now it had a nice few days last week, and it's back above that key area, and it looks like it might be ready to run. So this one's back on my watch list, keeping an eye on it. I like the looks of it here. GE. Owned this one for a little bit earlier in the year. Had a kind of an ugly April period there where it broke that line there, gap down, kind of came back. Now it's holding above that level, so that's a key level here. I'll call it 10. It's right where it is now, right about $10, right where the 200-day is. I think this one might have a lot of upside potential. Obviously, I wouldn't want to. If it breaks below that $10 level, I'll just no reason to own it. Just watching this for right now, but if it starts moving up, I think it could make a sizable move. And if not, that's why it's nice to have your stop close behind. You can get out before it gets ugly. That's the whole idea. That's why it's good to use charts to trade, because you can define your risk before you enter. And if it goes below where you thought it was going to find support, or it had found support, you just get out, and you just if you really like it, just keep it on your watch list and wait for it to set up again. So this is one I'm watching. I like the potential. We'll see what happens. SKY. This is another one that caught my eye this weekend. This has an area here. It's kind of similar to GE. It's right around the 200-day, right there around $22. You could see hit resistance right there, resistance again there, kind of pushing just at that level. So we'll see if it's ready to break through. Maybe it needs a couple of down days to get some energy built up and power through. Who knows? But if it gets above 22 and stays there, that would be a nice long idea, in my opinion. Again, with the stop, it depends on your time frame, position size, and all that. But you could put it just under the breakout area there, 2160 or so, or maybe under that range in the 50-day around 2025. Either way, it looks like a nice risk reward scenario here in SKY. ICE, I've been watching this for a while. I like how it's developing. We have this area here about $82. That's the closing high from back in December. Came back to retest it, was rejected. Now it just had that slight dip. That slight dip. It's like the handle and the cup and handle pattern, the right shoulder and the inverted head and shoulder. But what happens, it comes back to test the previous high. It doesn't get it, then it takes a slight dip. Buyers step in a little bit sooner than retesting those lows. So maybe it indicates that it's ready to break. So time will tell if this one gets over $82. I might be entering this one long. Again, this one I'd probably put the stop, under Friday's low or so if it breaks through above that $82 level. INSG. This is one I've been watching for some time too. Just hasn't got ready enough for me. It's kind of working on digesting these gains here. If I draw a trend line, it broke over that last Wednesday. Thursday and Friday gave some back, but I kind of like how this is setting up. And if I zoom out to the weekly chart here, it looks really pretty. You could see it actually found support at that previous break area. You can see it hit resistance here back in September of 18, broke through, kind of retested this range, and then had a nice week last week, kind of breaking back over that. So I like the way this is setting up. INSG just kind of waiting on this daily chart for maybe it to retest that downtrend line, and then maybe I'm really waiting for it to show some upside momentum above this trend line here. So nice looking setup there in INSG, just watching for now. Dish Network. This one just had, it's had a nice run all year, and it's just the last couple, well, really the last month and a half or so, it's just kind of been chopping this range. So if it shows it wants to break out of this range, above $36 or so, this looks like a nice potential long, in my opinion. Again, to stop, either under that range, maybe under Friday's lows there around 34.50. It just depends on your personal preferences, position size, time frame, and things like that. But I like how this is just kind of a little trading in a tight range here. So if it breaks out of that range, it'd be a nice entry opportunity. For me personally, I'm looking for a potential long if it breaks above that range. WPM, these metals names have really gotten slammed lately, and this has been no exception here. WPM, silver and gold look pretty not the best, especially after last week, but this one is back at a key area here. This $20 level, you can see back in December, January, it kind of pressed up against that, couldn't break through, and then had this really nice breakout there at the end of January and went on a nice run. And now it's back to test that area right there around $20. So if it starts finding some support here, looks like a nice spot to get long. Again, with the stop just below, and that's a 200-day just below there too. So it's kind of a flattish 200-day, not in a big longer term trend, just kind of flat. But I like how it's coming back, testing this area. Friday had a little bounce off of that, so if it continues to move upwards from that area, we have where our stop would be. A nice way to potentially play this bounce in WPM. DRI, Darden Restaurants. This one I'm watching. I like how it came back. It retested this. You could see this area was resistance here and here, broke above it, came back to retest it, and then it's just kind of been digesting those gains here. So what I'm looking for here is for it to break out of this consolidation to the upside, 122 or so, 123. If it can move above that, this looks like a really nice potential long trade. Again, stop here for me would maybe be under Friday's low there, 117, 118-ish. But again, I'm just watching it. We'll see how it acts next week. Those are all long ideas. So it's Sunday early afternoon now. Who knows what's going to happen with the markets next week? I know I don't. But in case things don't go well and you're looking to get some short exposure, I mentioned earlier the small caps have been showing a little bit of relative weakness, and I think this is RWM. It's the unleveraged short Russell 2000. It's kind of my go-to sometimes if the market's looking weak. I'll add some exposure here. And this one is actually setting up pretty well for a long trade. If the market starts showing some weakness, you could see Friday it had that nice move up off. It's right around the 200-day there. Again, it's kind of a flattish 200-day. But what I like about this is it's a nice horizontal spot to trade off of. So what I mean by that is we have this area here that I highlighted. Around $40, it acted as support here, turned resistance here. We broke above it here. And then Friday, it acted as support again. So that would be my areas to trade around. And why it's good to pick those again, and why I use charts to make trading decisions is we know when we're wrong. If it gets much below that, no reason to be in it. So you get out, small loss, walk away. But if the market starts showing some weakness here, nice spot to add, put your stop a little bit below current prices, and capture some potential upside if things continue to go down in the markets. You have some inverse exposure here. So those are some names I'm watching for next week. Hopefully you found it helpful. Again, I haven't made a video for a while, so maybe I'll be back soon. So hope you are all enjoying the weekend and have a good one.